The time has come to see the 15 cards spiking the most this week in part 2 of this giant-sized 2-part edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now you can order Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles products, pre-order Secrets of Strixhaven products, or find a vast number of other great items on their website. Remember, shipping is free in the US if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles. Just look in the description or comment section below for direct links to their site. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. If you missed part 1 of this week's Market Watch, go back and check it out. There we looked at the top 5 cold cards of the week and the hot cards numbered 25 through 16. Now we're going to finish up by counting down the top 15 hottest cards. Like I said in part 1, we're not going to feature any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cards quite yet since they haven't been released for a full week, but next week those cards will start hitting the countdowns where applicable. As always, our lists are based on 2 pieces of criteria: the percentage change in the value of the cards as well as the change in the number of sales from week to week. This week, in order for a card to be featured, it had to be moving at least 14% and at least $1 in either direction. Quickly before we get started though, just one fast thing. I do want to say thank you to one of our silver patrons. That is Sehanine Moonbow. Sehanine, thank you so much for your support on Patreon. I always say this, but I truly could not do this without viewers like yourself. She has been a long-term supporter on Patreon, but recently moved up to the silver tier. So thank you again, Sehanine. And now, without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, in part 1, we saw all the cold cards and the first 10 hot cards. Now it's time for the main event, the top 15 hottest cards of the week. Let's just jump in with number 15, Plague Bearer. This is up 288 to 507. That's a 132% increase. This one-part wonder is jumping because it's getting played in the pre-modern format. You'll see in this video that it was a big week for pre-modern cards as players and speculators try to figure out which decks will emerge as the best in a meta that is still trying to find its identity after the banning of Parallax Tide. Plague Bearer is a solid sideboard card found in 4-color recurring survival, which is gaining popularity, and it appears in 4-color Allurin sideboards as well. Number 14, Dystopia, of $4.48 to $36.29. That's a 14% increase. This reserve list card is jumping because of the pre-modern format as well. Dystopia has been a key sideboard card for mono black builds and some other decks in a meta that runs a lot of green and white enchantments. Some decks using this include mono black Ponza, which is gaining momentum, as well as mono black aggro, mono black discard, Rakdos midrange, and sometimes Jund. Number 13, Sabo's Web from Invasion, of $5.15 to $38.64. That's a 15% increase. After many years, Sabo's Web finally got reprinted in Mystery Booster 2, but there's not enough of those copies selling to track price data on that particular one right now. The original, however, is clearly red hot. This has been a huge sideboard card in the pre-modern format, appearing in all sorts of builds, and sometimes you even see it in the main decks. Sabo's Web is a great way to deal with non-basic lands that have activated abilities that do not produce mana. For example, many of the control builds in the format try to close out games with creature lands like Mishra's Factory and Fairy Conclave. Some of the decks that run this include Mono Blue Stiflenought, Selesnya Enchantress, Azorius Replenish, Groatog, Dimir Psychotog, Zombie Infestation, and Welder Tinker. Coming in at number 12, Morphling from Urza's Saga. It is up $5.60 to $25.49. That's a 28% increase. This reserve list card is also spiking because of the play it's been getting in the pre-modern format. Recently, I've seen players trying this out in a few different builds there. The Stiflenought decks seem to be the ones having the most success so far, but Morphling is definitely a card you should keep an eye on in the coming weeks and months. Number 11, Multani Maro Sorcerer, of $5.75 to $18.75. That's a 44% increase. This reserve list card is heating up because of its role in, you guessed it, the pre-modern format. Multani is found in various Reanimator builds there. This also appears in some commander decks like the ones around Morska Undersea Sleuth, but pre-modern is the key driver for this spike. Number 10, Anvil of Bogarden, up $6.92 to $48.92. That's a 17% increase. This reserve list card appears in a few commander builds like the ones around Turgid God of Fright, for example. It used to see legacy play, but it doesn't appear there much anymore. The spike we're looking at seems to be the result of a speculative buyout. Maybe someone's thinking that Anvil could see play somewhere with Cool But Rude from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I would expect Anvil of Bogarden's price to go down when copies are sold back to the marketplace. Number 9, Shallow Grave, up 1002 to 74.99. That's a 15% increase. This reserveless card is found in 1v1 dual commander builds around Celis Rune Knight, but it's the pre-modern format that's driving the price spike you see here. Shadow Grave is found in 5 and 4 color Stifle Knot decks there, and those builds have gained some momentum recently. Number 8 is Goblin Lackey from Urza Saga, up 1083 to 34.98. That's a 45% increase. This has been reprinted in several specialty products, but it's difficult to track actual sales for copies other than this original one from Urza Saga right now. Goblin Lackey does see play in several different decks in multiple formats. First off, this is in Legacy Goblins. Over in Commander, it has been in builds around Krenko Mob Boss and Wart Boggart Ante, for example. And of course, those decks got a boost recently from the Goblin support found in Lorwyn Eclipse. In fact, Goblin Lackey is now seeing play in Commander builds around a card from that set, Grub Storied Matriarch / Grub Notorious Ante. Another big driver for Goblin Lackey's price increase, though, is the pre-modern format. This is in various Goblin builds there, and some of them are performing quite well in the post-Parallax Tide meta, especially the Gruul version. In addition to Gruul, though, this is in Mono Red, Boros, Rakdos, Temur, and 4-color varieties of Goblin decks. Coming in at number 7 for the second week in a row, Vexilus Praetor at 1446 to 3263. That's an 80% increase. This is from the Warhammer 40k Forces of the Imperium Commander deck. It does see Commander playing a few builds, like the ones around Inquisitor Greyfax and Marneus Kelgar from its pre-con. However, last week, In Response MTG on Instagram put out a reel talking about Vexilus Praetor, and copies began to dry up online, which led to the recent price increases. This card can be a useful tool for Commander decks running white, but it remains to be seen as to whether this increase will stick. A week ago, this was number 2 on the cold list. Last week it took the top spot. This week it returns to the hot list at number 6. Cataclysm from Exodus of 1488 to 34.99. That's a 74% increase. This was hot, then it retracted some when more copies went up for sale. Now though, the price is moving up again due to the high demand on the card. It's in several formats. In 1v1 Dual Commander, you see Cataclysm in builds around cards like Velia Exuberant Shepherd and Cloud Midgar Mercenary, for example. In regular Commander, it's in decks around the Ur-Dragon, Brea Ethereum Shaper, and more. However, the other format where you'll find Cataclysm is, you guessed it again, pre-modern. And that's the format driving the price spike you see here. It has consistently appeared in the 4-color, Selesnya, and Bant Terrageddon builds there. Alright, quickly before we get to our top 5, just a fast reminder, this video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now, you can order Turtles products there. You can also pre-order Secrets of Strixhaven products, or find any number of other great items on their website, Magic related and otherwise. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the US, and if you're looking for a direct link to their site, just check out the description or the comment section below. I do have links posted in both of those places. And now, without any further ado, let's get to the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Flash Photography of 1702 to 47.97. That's a 55% increase. This is the foil copy from the Final Fantasy XV Camp Comrade scene box. Now there is a non-foil of this as well, but that one is scarcer than the foil, and currently we don't have enough sales data to pin down the price of that version of the card, although asking prices of that one are averaging around $100. Since Flash Photography is from specialty products, the card is harder to find, and a lot of Commander players want copies for a variety of decks. In regular Commander, this appears in several builds, including ones around Kinnan Bonder Prodigy and Noctis Heir Apparent, for example. However, the format that's really pushing the card's price is 1v1 Dual Commander. Clones are always good in the format, and this card copies a creature in the form of a token, so it synergizes with token creation strategies as well. Plus, it's a sorcery, which means you can return it from the graveyard to your hand and play it repeatedly in the right builds. It even has flashback, which is nice. Anyway, I'm seeing Flash Photography and builds around lots of different legendary creatures in Dual Commander, so it's clear that the demand for this card will remain high for a while. There were plenty of copies of this for sale in December and January, But Commander players slowly realized how good flash photography is. This week, we finally hit the breaking point where copies became scarce enough to cause this price spike. Coming in at number 4 is Firestorm of $32.97 to $49.97. That's a 194% increase if you're doing the math at home. This reserve list card was featured on the MTG Goldfish Best Standard Deck Ever series this week. It was in the recurring Nightmare Survival deck from 1996. Now, that might have brought some attention to this card, but the key driver for this price spike is speculation based on one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cards. Some think Firestorm may see more Commander play along with this card, Cool But Rude. Firestorm, along with Cool But Rude's second level, could do a lot of damage with the right engine behind it. Number 3, Phyrexian Dreadnought from Mirage of $49.50 to $299.50. That's a 20% increase. Sometimes you see this reserve list card in Commander builds around Shroom the Hegemon, and of course it appears in Legacy Stiflenaught, but I bet you can't guess where else it's played. Oh, look at you. Yup, it's pre-modern, and that's why Phyrexian Dreadnought is spiking this week. Stiflenaught decks are really blowing up right now in the format, especially the mono blue version. That is one of the standard decks in the evolving post-Parallax Tide meta currently. Phyrexian Dreadnought is also found in Azorius, Dimir, 5-color, and 4-color varieties of the deck. Coming in at number 2, Intuition from Tempest of $49.99 to $299.99. That's also a 20% increase. This reserve list card is played in a few formats. In 1v1 Duel Commander, it's in several builds, including the ones around Spider-Man 2099, as well as Hidetsugu and Kairi. Over in regular Commander, you see this in decks around Nagila the Blade Blossom and Ovar the All-Form, for example. However, the format that's pushing this price increase the most is good old pre-modern. Intuition is in lots of builds there, including the popular Azorius Replenish deck, as well as Zombie Infestation, Iggy Pop, 4-color Alurin, Jeskai Replenish, and sometimes Dimir Psychotog. And finally, coming in at number 1, Survival of the Fittest from Exodus of $50.15 to $349.99. That's a 17% increase. This reserve list card was also featured on the MTG Goldfish Best Standard Deck Ever series this week. It too was in the recurring Nightmare Survival deck from 1996, which may have brought some attention to it. Aside from that though, Survival of the Fittest does get a good amount of play in 1v1 Duel Commander. This is in several builds there, like the ones around Terra Magical Adept, as well as Slimefoot and Squee, for example. However, recently it's been seeing additional play in the format in decks around a couple cards from Lorwyn Eclipse. They are Brigid Clackhan's Heart / Brigid Doan's Mind from the main set, and Ashling the Limitless from the Dance of the Elements Commander deck. Over in regular Commander, Survival of the Fittest is in quite a few builds too, like the ones around Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes, as well as Thalia and the Gitrog monster, for example. There is another big reason this is spiking though, and by now, you know what it is. It is because of the popularity of the pre-modern format. This is in lots of decks there, including some popular ones. You see it in pre-modern Elves, 5-color Hermit Druid, Naya Survival Welder, Temur Equilibrium, Jund Recurring Survival, Temur Goblins, 5-color Alurin, 4-color Goblins, and 4-color Madness. And that is going to do it for this 2-part edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch this week. Who knows what's going to happen next week, but join us to find out. Until then though, hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.